Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menasce. On today's show, we're talking about forecasting your business for the next 12 months. If your business is influenced by international travel, there's good news in the short term. Newly launched flights to Europe are oversold. Pandemic cases are on the decline through most of Europe. The exception to that is the UK, where the cases of the Delta variant are rapidly increasing. Those most affected are the younger members of the population who haven't been vaccinated. We've seen rapidly increasing cases in South Africa and South America, where it's now winter. Air traffic at San Francisco Airport is now up to 43% of what it was in June of 2019. Some airports across the U.S. are reporting even higher passenger volumes. A lot of this travel is still domestic. International travel is still running at deep pandemic levels. Volumes on Cathay Pacific, based in Hong Kong, are at 9% of June 2019 levels. There are serious questions whether Cathay Pacific will survive. Some international carriers have parked their wide-body fleets and tried to rely upon long-range versions of narrow-body aircraft in order to keep flying. Norwegian Airlines scaled back operations last year and is now in bankruptcy protection. The vast majority of the resurgence in air travel is leisure-related, business travel making up only a small percentage of air travel. I know many people who've made investments in vacation properties in order to capitalize on the increase in demand for driving distance getaways. We're not going to know for some time when air travel will return to pre-pandemic levels. There's some speculation that business travel has been forever changed by the pandemic, that people still like to travel for leisure. Every indication is that people will travel for vacation when it's safe to do so. When you're making a decision to purchase a vacation property as an investment property, there has to be a view of demand for that property, and it shouldn't just be based on the strength of demand during an extraordinary event. It's a bit like going into the hand sanitizer business. After the initial surge in demand and the huge increase in prices, the industry responded with a massive increase in supply. You can now buy hand sanitizer at rock-bottom prices. The market shows every sign of being oversupplied for the long term. Vacation rentals, historically, have been great investments in a few select locations, but poor investments in most others. People are looking for vacation alternatives today that are driving distance from home. That means a cottage on the lake. It also means maybe buying a camper trailer or a tent and spending time in nature, again, driving distance from home. I worry that the frenzy to buy cottages will result in an oversupply in a couple of years' time. Real estate investments are long-term investments. When you sign a loan for 25 years, you need to be thinking beyond just the next year or two. Vacation rentals follow an annual cycle. There's a peak season that's usually in the summer months, and it can vary between 8 to 16 weeks depending on the location. There's peak demand during holiday weekends, but unless you're next to a ski destination, you're going to have a hard time getting peak revenue in the middle of January or the first half of December. The shoulder seasons on either side of the peak season can also be difficult from a revenue perspective. Property expenses are attracted year-round, so you can expect positive cash flow during the peak months and negative cash flow during the rest of the year. You hope it all works out. You hope the higher peak season rates will carry the property for the entire year. So when you buy a vacation rental property, one of the primary factors is the drive distance from a major population center. That major metro is going to be your primary source of clients. The ideal distance is between 1 to 1.5 hours from the major city. And if you're outside 2 hours, demand drops off significantly. I know some of you will say that your property, located 4 hours away, is doing just fine. But remember, when international air travel recovers and demand drops for vacation rentals, it's those properties within that 90-minute radius that are going to fill up first. You're going to get the leftovers. While the extraordinary may happen, tourists generally are not going to fly from South Korea to your home city, then drive 4 hours to spend 2 weeks in your cabin by the lake. That's not going to be a statistically significant source of income for you. Whatever you think is going to be your nightly rate for your property is not based on numbers from 2020 or 21. You got to look back to 2019 and 2018 as a more representative indicator of demand and pricing. Our vacation rental portfolio has the opposite situation. We're located next to Banff National Park, which normally gets about 5 million visitors a year. But a lot of those visitors are in fact international travelers from Asia. While our occupancy has been good overall in 2020 and in 21, our nightly rate is lower due to the reduced amount of international air travel. So when you consider investments in vacation rentals, make sure you perform a market study that looks back 2 to 3 years. There's a number of excellent tools online that provide a wealth of data. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.